Mr. President, members of the board, members of the association, Dan Toscano, Broad Street, Suite 610. With me is the architect for 536 Commercial Street, and I'm going to mispronounce his last name. It's Patsky. Chris Patsky, who's been put together the design. I represent Mike and Allison Bonney, who purchased the property 2 years ago, who live at the property, owner-occupied unit. They apologize for not being here personally. Mike is traveling on business, and Allison is down in North Carolina caring for her daughter. Our daughter who had some knee surgery, so she needed to be down there to help her. We are here today because when Allison and Mike bought this property back in 2012, those who are not familiar with it, prior to 2012, it was a three-family with a commercial unit on the first floor. It was purchased by Dr. Aki Khan, who converted it into a single-family unit. And part of that unit was a roof deck. The proviso on a roof deck was for 150 square feet, which we'll show you at some point exactly where that roof deck is currently there. Dr. Khan never moved in the property. Mike and Allison Bonney purchased the property, and they've been there 2 years. After 2 years, they like to remove that proviso and expand the roof deck to cover a little more area of the roof and to add some green space all around the edges of the roof. And so in order to do that, we had to file a long form to remove the existing proviso and to increase it from its current space of 150 square feet of roof deck to 367 square feet of roof deck, which is on the application. However, after working with the abutters, Dr. Green in particular and his wife, Elizabeth, right? Bay, so close. And working with Dr. Green and his wife, although we made some adjustments, we decreased the roof deck to 336 square feet, and we added a little more green space to the roof. We were here back in December, as Victor has said, and the matter was deferred. So we can have an opportunity to work with Dr. Green and his wife in regards to this property. And the reason being, on 540 Commercial Street, Dr. Green's unit, there's two windows there, and Dr. Green's windows overlook this roof deck, and there was some legitimate concerns about the privacy rights of Dr. Green. Prior to the NURA meeting, we met in December prior to actually the Northern Waterford Neighborhood Council. We had a great meeting. I thought we worked out an agreement. Dr. Green then supported the proposal for the NUNIC committee, but then prior to the NURA committee, a change of heart. We've been trying to work with Dr. Green ever since. Unfortunately, not able to come to an agreement with Dr. Green, and we respect Dr. Green's decision. It's been a pleasure working with you. Been very respectful and professional. So with that said, we can go through the plan, what's existing now, and what we like to put there. So
this is the immediate past.
all right. So I think if we, right here, so if we look at the existing head house right here, what's here is this portion in this black outline right here. If you can see that, that's 150 square feet. We'd like to add this decking here and then put some green space all the way around here. The windows that we're talking about are right here. And the reason why we put a lot of green space here, because from the roof deck to the window is approximately 10 feet of space. So we feel that this design not only beautifies the roof, which Mike and Allison Bonney want to do, add a lot of green space, but it also provides Dr. Green with, we believe, some more privacy than what is existing now, because what you see is 150 square feet of roof deck, and the rest of the roof is black tar, which doesn't prevent Allison and Mike to utilizing the roof to walk around the roof and to get as close as you want to the windows. However, by adding this green space here, it really is a buffer between the roof deck and Dr. Green's window. We feel that it provides enough green space and enough privacy for Dr. Green, and it gives Allison and Mike some additional roof deck. This is some piped-in gas and water that's existing, and they would love to use this area here to be able to utilize it in the next month. More than happy to answer any questions.
Questions from abutters who have priority?
Would you
point out to the group about the expansion of the roof deck already since it came out of the zoning board?
Yeah, I'd like to speak to that too.
Are we talking about the piece that he put there? No, there was a piece
This
of
has
roof
not
that.
been a particularly neighborly process.
Can I ask everyone to introduce themselves, name and street?
Sorry, I'm Jim Thatcher. I'm in the butter. The construction is approximately 12 feet from my dining room windows. I'm a straight line shot. This has not been a particularly neighborly process. I woke up one morning and looked out, and here there's a construction guy building a railing all the way out to the end of the roof. I said to the guy, I opened my window, I said, sir, this roof deck is restricted to 100 and so many feet. This is an illegal construction you're putting up. Oh, we have a building permit. So I go around, I look at the front of the house, I look at the building permit. There it is. If you're 26 feet tall, you could read it clearly. It was up in the third-story window. And so it seems to me that there was an expansion of this deck and the place for the cooker way before this was even proposed. It's been an encroachment on our space. There was no communication to us about this building, and it has not been a very neighborly process from the get-go. It has been a very trust-dissolving process thus far.
Board, are we in a question or a comment period?
Well, just let me review that, thank you for bringing it up.
I'll address
Well, I just want to, procedurally, first we like to have questions asked and then we like comments. So any other questions that come up, any other folks that speak right now, I'd just like them to be asking specific questions. And then Dan, I'd like for you to just make a comment on, to speak to that, the question from Jason.
It's currently a one-family,
Single-family owner occupied.
so they're gonna be treated as a one-family.
Single-family owner occupied. They're residents of this neighborhood, and they've been here. And they like
They have
to-
children?
What's that? Adult children, two. One lives in North Carolina,
Oh.
and they don't live there.
There was also a conversion from a three.
It was a three-family with commercial.
It's reducing the density of the building. What's the height of the building?
Can't be more than 35, twice, 3 stories.
It's lower than
Garage.
the building.
Oh, much lower.
It sounds
Much lower.
Question.
Stephanie Hoag, Henchman Street. I know this property has been before us a couple of times over the last few years. Could those of you who live in the abutting property address the issue, if you can, of these windows being, are they original to the building or were they added?
Our 5 windows that look out on this deck were 5 were original.
Thank you.
But we're not the only ones that have windows that are.
Can't hear you.
Hi,
I'm sorry.
Can you introduce yourself?
I'm sorry, I'm Ruth Weber, I'm also in a butter, I'm in a 540 Commercial Street. My particular unit has 5 windows that look out onto this deck. That's one unit in the building. So I don't represent all the windows in the building.
Michael Wiggins, I'm here on behalf of Dr. Green. Just as to the windows, this building was, 540 was built in the early 80s. We got permits for all of his windows at that time, so it's, my clients at least have been here 30 years, so those windows have been there all that time.
When we talk about the windows, just so everybody's clear, I know there's windows, but the only 2 windows that really overlook this property are Dr. Green's and his wife. The other windows, I'm not, you're in the back that look out, you're not over the Bonnie's property. And
I'm not directly
Mr. Thatcher, you're
against the-
one, if I'm correct, when you say you look out and you're right there, you're 1 floor down, are you correct?
No, we look the way it is, and we're not directly, our neighbors are literally up against this deck, literally up against the deck. We are viewing totally the deck from both our dining area and my daughter's bathroom. So there's no privacy there because of this. So the closer, and as the plan to extend it is getting closer to us. And that's why we originally went to the representatives from the condo association went to the original meetings before the Bondies owned it, and when Dr. Khan was originally looking for this, and expressed our concern at that time, which was one of the reasons it was limited to 150 square feet.
Are there any other questions? Okay, I think comments, I think you wanted to say something first.
So to address, just to address that in the construction, and Mike and Allison apologize, they had put, because there's built-in gas and built-in water, they want to utilize the grill that up on the roof, they had a removable structure that they built up there. As soon as that, there was a complaint, I believe, Mr. Foster had called, as soon as there was a complaint, they were able to remove it right away, so there was no issue.
Sure,
They had put it there, they had put it there, just to level off the, because it slopes down and just, slopes out, just to level off so they can use the grill, but it wasn't a permanent structure. They got a violation, which in turn, we filed the appropriate paperwork for.
Is that a gas grill?
It is.
That's illegal.
No, it's built in. It's not a gas tank that's there.
It's not a propane tank.
It's not.
If you actually, if you have something that's plumbed in directly, it's not illegal, it's only the ones that are.
Read the
All right, we will,
regulations.
we will, thank you.
Other comments? Yes.
I'd like to make a presentation on behalf of Dr. Green. They're the ones who are.
We'll give you the floor.
Okay. So I think it's important to fully understand why there's opposition to this, to go back to 2012 and look briefly at what Dr. Khan started out trying to do. This was what he wanted to do, which was to build a deck that covered pretty much all of the roof. He needed a variance, not just a conditional use permit, because the head house was going to be expanded from one of those up the ladder to the roof head houses to an actual stairway, and he needed that to be able to use the roof. So he had to go to his neighbors. He couldn't satisfy the standards for variance at that time. He already had the full floor area ratio that the zoning code allows. So to go beyond that, he needed to work something out with his neighbors. So Dr. Green and his wife and a couple of other unit owners got together and did a lot of work in the summer of 2012. There was a lot of pushing back and forth respectfully about what size that deck would be. So it came from there down to this deck, and that's accurately portrayed there. But you'll see there's a good distance here, 12 feet or so from the Greens' windows. I might add that these are the windows that directly abut. They also have a dining room window from which they look at this as well. So this is basically directly in front of them, and also at an angle as they said in their dining room window. And Mr. Thatcher, I think he's already explained about in the rear and what his impact is. I'd like to just show you how it looks now, looking out those two front living room windows. This is a picture of the existing deck. And Dr. and Mrs. Green they've reconciled them to this. They don't object to it. It's a good sized deck, as you can see, very comfortable. And there is absolutely no reason why a new variance is needed to expand this deck. And certainly the standards for a variance would not be met. And again, exhaustive efforts were made to work this out. This was not an easy process. It was expensive and time consuming. You can look at the next one. Here's a look at the deck from the dining room of my clients. And you'll see the deck here. You'll also see an extended deck that was constructed illegally after the current owners purchased the property, and a railing at the back. And one wonders why there needs to be a railing when this is a roof that can't be used as a deck. No one needs a railing on a roof deck that is not being used for a deck. Certainly it would be possible to come out of the head house to this enclosed deck and use it for the purpose for which it was negotiated, back in 2012, which is only 3 years ago. So there's no possible way that a variance could be granted by the Board of Appeal if it's doing its job of addressing what is particular about this lot that other lots don't have. Is it deprived of its reasonable use of the land? Well, no, it already has more than the floor area ratio that's allowed. So let me just go to the next. So what this new plan would be to telescope a 12-foot distance back down to a mere couple of feet. And you'll see on the plan there is some green space, quote unquote, but all that really is some plantings around the edge. So that's not going to be much comfort to my clients when they look out and see someone right up close and personal, perhaps tending those plants or looking at them. They've gone from 12 feet away to literally a couple of feet away. And I would submit that that's an intrusion that they should not be required to agree about. I think that, on a more global basis, I think that the neighborhood should not be allowing a process to be rehashed such a short time after it was hashed over and negotiated at length to fare thee well. So I would respectfully ask you to disapprove this. Thank you.
Board?
Can I just respond to some of the design issues? One of the things that we've been working with, I'm sorry to say that you feel like we haven't been, or that the team hasn't been neighborly. I honestly think we have been neighborly, at least as a designer from the beginning of the process, meeting with the neighbors, listening to what their concerns are, and actually responding to what their concerns are in ways that they themselves have suggested to us to say, would you consider changing your design in a particular way? We've certainly embraced that, and that has certainly been part of how our design has evolved. The last time we were here, we had met with Dr. Green. Dr. Green had very specific things that he said, if you met these conditions, then I would agree to X, Y, and Z. And as far as a neighborly process, I'm not sure whether that has been reciprocal. One of the things that I would say is that we were asked to do a couple things to change our design. One of the things that happened was we were asked to eliminate an access point here, which allowed for views out to the bay. We've eliminated that. The second thing that we were asked to do is we were asked to pull the entire composition back such that the edge of the deck aligns with the edge of the adjacent window. We've done that. A third thing that we were asked to do was we were asked to take, there was originally a storage chest here. That's not occupiable space. No one's standing there, no one's looking into Dr. Green's window. And I mean, logically, the Bonnies are concerned about their own privacy as well. So what we did was we ended up taking that storage space and we ended up moving it to where we had a planter that was proposed. Behind that planter is a blank wall, and we moved planting in front of the abutter's window so that there was a little bit more of a buffer. So we have been listening, and we have been working in good faith with the concerns that the abutters have had. And I just want to make sure that that's a point that we really honestly talk about in terms of, it hasn't been a spiteful process, and it's been something where we're proposing things that would be detrimental to the abutters. So,
And Chris, you're absolutely right. And to say that we haven't been neighborly and good neighbors, it's completely inaccurate. We've been working with Dr. Green and his wife, and it's been professional, it's been respectful, they've been great. We've listened to their concerns, even though we're unable to reach an agreement, unfortunately. But I think the neighborhood process has done what they're supposed to do. We got together, we heard his concerns. I think it's this window here, this window here, the second window is probably about 6 feet high, a little bit more maybe, so you have to be pretty tall to kind of look into this one. It's really this window that has greater concerns, it's a little lower. So the current deck extends out a little bit more in the alignment of this window. We have pushed, part of this plan is to push this deck back, so it gives them a little more privacy. But from this window, Counselor had mentioned about 12 feet, there's 6 feet of green space in between the window and this walkway. And then if this walkway is 4 feet wide, and you see some green space in that walkway. And the reason why there's some green space here is so Mike and Allison can get onto that walkway and attend to these, the green space there and the planters here. And they want to put this green space in there so it won't be utilized as a deck, so people could, put a chair out there or couch, so it won't be just utilized as a deck. So it really creates a 10-foot buffer here from the window to the deck. And the council is completely, I just, to make clear, with any negotiations, and I've worked with Dr. Khan back in 2012 for the 150 square feet, Allison Bonnie and Mike Bonnie had nothing to do with Dr. Khan, any of the negotiations. They know him, simply purchased the property. And the council is right, there was a long negotiation, but it's neither here nor there. But we didn't come to an agreement, and as I remember correctly, you opposed the project. So I don't want the community to sit here and say, we worked endlessly, we came to such this great agreement, and now we're trying to change it. You didn't agree to anything, you opposed the project, so I think that's pretty clear. Other than that, I'm not asking this board to support the project. I think I talked to Allison Bonnie and Mike Bonnie. We, in good conscience, we made some great changes. We feel it beautifies the property. It provides Dr. Green with some, we believe, more privacy than what he currently has, because we're able to go on the roof and get as close as we want. The green space, the planters, all as of right, we can put them there now. With that said, we thank you for your time. Thank you.
We probably have to go to the vote because we're pretty late.
Just a clarification from attorney, for Dr. Green's attorney's presentation. It was referenced, well, it's been noted that this came before you were back in November, was deferred in the hopes that some compromise could be reached. And Attorney Toscano suggested that a revised plan was presented before Nunick that the doctor had agreed to, and then had a change of heart about. Was there a change in the plans that weren't incorporated that caused Dr. Green to at first support the proposal at Nunick and then change his mind? Or?
I don't think this plan, as far as my plan was concerned, was presented, but the change of heart really has to do with him discovering what his rights are, and that he did not have to agree to any expansion of the plan that had been so exhaustively negotiated back in 2012. There just really is no reason in the law, and there, as I've shown you, there's a substantial compromise in his privacy that he's accepted as of 2012. More? No. I mean, there really doesn't need to be.
Okay, so there wasn't some version of a plan that was acceptable and no longer is, just
No, he
rejected.
was considering
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
considering plans, but did not agree.
That's inaccurate. That's inaccurate, because he came before the North End Neighborhood Council and supported the project. And you keep saying we negotiated and we agreed. We didn't come to an agreement in 2012, Council. I apologize. You were present. You opposed the project, and it was Anthony Pizzani. He didn't accept the proviso. Anthony Pizzani, who sits on the Board of Appeals, there was a vote, and he made a proviso that it not exceed 150 feet. There's nothing you could have done at that point. You could have appealed it at Superior Court. You didn't. But you didn't. You did sit here and accept it. We didn't negotiate and come to an agreement and go to the Board of Appeals and say, yeah, we all agree to this proposal.
In good faith as neighbors, we accepted that at the time, and it's not just Dr. Green, it's the range of the abutters that have concerns about this building.
Can I just?
Well, I think everyone has a really good sense of what's going on here. We're way behind schedule. This is an important issue. We've taken a lot of time. I try to give you guys.
No, I really appreciate it, and that's why I said I appreciate Dr. Green and his wife been terrific, and I'll say it again, when we're not here, just
30
ask
seconds
for your
comment.
support.
Okay.
What ended up happening happening is at the last meeting, we had talked to Dr. Green. There were specific, very specific things. Was this plan presented? No. But the specific things that were agreed upon were incorporated into this plan, and that was what was presented to the abutters to say, we have met everything you asked of us. This is what the plan currently is. This is what you had agreed upon in the conversation.
Thank you.
Is it very quick?
Yes.
Paul? Okay, great, thank you.
It is. I'm probably 12 feet away from this gentleman, and I can see him pretty well. Really, very clear.
I would say you're a little bit closer than 12 feet. All right.
Well, if I was laying down, I'm 6'2", twice tall.
On that measurement, let us take our voting tax. This is voting item 1. Vote support would mean that we would not oppose the deck. If you vote opposed, it means you don't want this built.